So the flower I decided to do research on is Raphanus raphanastrum, also known as the wild radish. And the topic in question or the topic that I wanted to focus on is what insects pollinated slash visited the flowers and which color of flower they preferred. And in this case, there's white, yellow, and purple flowers. Some background information on the wild radish is that it's an annual herb and it's native to the Mediterranean regions. And it is also considered a serious weed in grain growing areas, which can be problematic for food production. This is an example of how it looks in the wild, like a bush state. Excuse me. Some interesting facts on the wild radish is that it has potential source of beneficial compounds within it, like vitamin E, polyunsaturated fatty acid, that can be beneficial to the human body when eaten. Another thing that I found interesting was that most of the flower slash plant is edible, and how it can be a substitute for mustard. So I love mustard, so I might have to try that. Another interesting thing is that they can actually be a broccoli substitute as well. So I can only imagine that vegans should be trying to use this in dishes, because why not? It's something different and it's readily available. You can literally just go down the street and pick some off the street. I thought it was interesting that different colors of the petals of the flowers themselves had a spicy flavor, and that they're actually used. Another interesting fact is that wild radishes are toxic to horses. So basically, once a horse eats it and grazes on it, it just hurts their stomach or causes internal discomfort. It also has a reputation for hurting crop yield, crops, because the seed has a toxic compound that, like, pretty much doesn't let anything grow around it. Um, and it's toxic, but other herbs have the same toxicity within it, like horseradish, mustards, and onions, but they don't damage dirt like these guys do. Okay, so it's a part of the mustard family, which makes sense why it would be a substitute. It's a Brassicaceae, and it's a dicot. Other names are charlock, etc., etc. Its habitat is usually likes disturbed sites, so dirt that's been recently disturbed. So think alongside freeways, pathways, and pastures. It's typically in subtropical and sometimes even tropical regions. The herbivores, so what eats it? It's humans, grazing animals, and rodents. Rodents also help with seed dispersal. Well, they all actually do, because you technically would poop it out if you eat the pods. Their seed dispersal strategy I thought was interesting, because they have a high seed production with pods that can contain up to 10 seeds. So that's a pretty high yield. They usually disperse close by, because when they mature, the seed pods tend to dry and just fall off. The germination takes place in spring and fall, and it is invasive. It's a habitat threatening invasive species. So basically, they're not good for the environment. Their location of origins, so they're native to the Mediterranean regions of Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East. And this is a beautiful picture of how they look, and you can see the pronounced veins in it, which is interesting. Nice colors. Here's a botanical illustration. So basically, they can grow up to 3 feet. They have a hairy stem, which is very textured. When I was doing field research, you could definitely feel it, and it definitely was very harsh, textury, and very stiff. The leaves are alternate, with lower leaves pinnate leaf compound. You can see them right there. The leaves are lobed and irregularly toothed, so they're round. Here's a baby version of it, or a juvenile stage of the leaf itself. So the flowers, they have a flowering period between May and October in Northern Europe, or between June and August in the United States. The flowers have 4 petals. They can either be in purple, white, or yellow. And they typically have pronounced veins like you saw in the other image. Um, so the fruit, this is where the seeds are. They are long. They look like pea pods. Essentially, that's what they are. They can carry up to 10 seeds within it. And like I said earlier, as they mature, they become dry and detached from the plant. One thing to take note is that the seeds can remain viable in the soil for up to 20 years. So I think that's actually something normal that seeds can do. As long as no water has touched it, they stay dormant until water or liquid, I feel like, comes in contact with it. Here's the die cut root, and the seedlings are heart shaped. So, common pollinators. Wild radishes cannot self pollinate. It is cross pollinated primarily by bumblebees, garden butterflies, and flies. These are pictures that I took of a garden butterfly on it and a bumblebee as well. So this is my flow chart. My topic in question was how I was trying to focus on pollination/visitations of insects and how many of them did pollinate or visit, specifically white, purple, and yellow flowers within 20 minutes. So my hypothesis was that I believed that I would observe a total of 2 to 5 insects from 2 to 4 different species pollinate primarily white flowers during the 20-minute observation time frame. I specifically chose white flowers because the annotated articles that we had to do specifically said that the white flowers tended to have more favoritism from the insects rather than the purple and yellow ones. But I found that not to be true. What I observed, or my observations, was that I observed a specific bush repeatedly for 4 days and 20-minute intervals, and I tallied up how many insects visited them, and I made sure to focus on to see what color of the flower was. I collected data, and the results and conclusion are for slides coming up. So these are just images of me doing the field research, so proves that I did the work, obviously. I found these guys alongside a road by my house. This and the California poppy were the most abundant species that were growing, and yeah, my analysis. So I focus on flower color, species of insect visitations, minutes observed, and the favorite flower color. My results. So each color represents a specific insect. Bumblebees visited / pollinated the most, and favored color was purple. So what I observed only were purple and white flowers. I did not see any yellow flowers whatsoever by my house, but on campus, surprisingly, it was the complete opposite, where I only saw yellow flowers but not purple and white, which was pretty interesting to see. As you can see, bumblebees were the most abundant insect throughout the research. Okay, my conclusion is that purple Raphanus drum owl was favored by the insects. This is a comparison with one of the annotated articles that I chose and did research on, and in their results, influence of flower color frequencies on pollinator preferences. So what I highlighted was they found that bumblebees, the most common visitor, showed no preference with respect to flower color when white flower plants were common or dominant in the experimental populations, but discriminated against the white petal morph when it was rare. Basically, bumblebees were the highest visitors, but in their research they saw that white flower plants were the most common. In my research, it showed that it was the least dominant color, and that the purple were the dominant in my research. So the data that I found was similar, but instead this should be purple instead of the white, but that the purple Raffinostrum was the favorite color that the insects were attracted to in my research. So it differed from theirs. So they noticed that they liked white, and I noticed that they liked purple. So future research ideas. So I think for sure get more data to strengthen results. The more data you have, the more you can strengthen and back up your results, basically. So more data equals stronger way of proving what you're trying to prove. Adding a graphical abstract or video, so just adding something that has more of a visual aid, so something that can help represent the project, and just have more visuals, basically, to maybe help sum up the messages or allow the viewer to see what you're doing, but hands on. So like a first person perspective in a way. Ensure the results are exciting and prove your hypothesis in a bigger scale. So basically, have other people look at my research and want to use it towards their research so that it can be a bigger project or just have more of an impact. Yeah, that's pretty much it. The last page is my works cited. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the time, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Take care.